you think about it, Oden's flashback, the 10 to 15 chapters we just read, Yamato essentially has that in a physical copy. And she has a lot more than we read. She's got the side stories, the spin-offs, the footnotes. She's got a lot of content. And that's a very OP thing to have in terms of knowledge. So that's gonna be our topic for this video. The importance of Yamato having Oden's journal. What does she know in terms of information? And what does that mean for the story and her character? So to start off, let's talk about the logbook. The logbook gets started actually not right away in the flashback. After the whole thing with Kinema and Denjiro and the mountain god and the boat, two of them end up following Oden, that's when Oden starts his journal. And he points out this is a journal that voyagers write in every day, and every day is even capitalized and bolded. So when I say Yamato really has like the side stories and everything, she really has a lot more content than we got in the flashback. Now once Oden starts his journal, the narration and the story transitions. As a matter of fact, there's even a box that says what follows is a series of excerpts from Oden's travel notes. What I will note here is that it doesn't follow Oden's perspective completely. There are still moments where the narrator jumps in and gives perspective on different things that are happening. So when Oden's traveling out in the sea and we jump back to Wano, obviously Oden doesn't know about anything that happens there, or the rocks pirates are starting to get mentioned. Those moments, the actual narrator comes back. But still, Oden's narration and perspective dominates the majority of the flashback. Now, the first thing that Oden goes into is meeting the scabbards. Now, this is actually very interesting to me because what is Yamato's reaction going to be for the scabbards? I'm really interested to see that dynamic because she knows about how Oden met all the scabbards and how he saved them and everything, and as of right now, she doesn't know that they're back and alive. Well, she should know about like Ashura Doji. Well, Denjiro she would know nothing about because he was undercover as Kiyoshiro, but people like Kinemon, Kiku, Raizo, Kanjuro, we'll get to Kanjuro in a little bit. Even Izo coming back, like Izo, somebody who traveled with Oden on Whitebeard's ship and everything. I want to see how Yamato reacts to like seeing all those people again, and I think Oda could go two directions here. One of like fanboying or fangirling over like the Red Scabbards. It's like, oh my god, Kinemon, the leader of the Red Scabbards, is actually you. I can't believe you're alive. Raizo, the former member of the Oniwabanshu. Izo, a member of the Whitebeard Pirates. You're actually here. Like actually like super like into it. Or like she could really take on the Kazuki Oden like personality, and that would be funny to see as well. It's like, Kinemon, I see you're still doing well. I'm glad. Remember when I saved you from that mountain god? Kinemon was like, what the hell are you talking about? Why are you dressed like Kazuki Oden? So like her dynamic with the Red Scabbards and their interactions, I'm really excited to see how Oda really portrays that, and either way, I think it's gonna be a fun dynamic. Now I mentioned Kanjuro. Kanjuro, that's gonna be a big shock to her as well because nobody else knows that Kanjuro is the traitor besides recently Kaido and some of his men. And of course Orochi was really the only person that knew Kanjuro was a traitor. So when Yamato finds out Kanjuro is a traitor and like how Oden like had taken care of Kanjuro and all that, she's gonna be pissed, and the Kanjuro probably should start hauling ass after that. And speaking of traitors, how about Orochi? Because Oden noted all the stuff he said about Orochi and how they were like brothers at first, and later on there were even specific points where Oden talked about Orochi being a fool of a lord and somebody who betrayed him. And Orochi's been around, so like Yamato has seen Orochi at the execution killing Oden and all that, and this whole time her father has been working with Orochi, and maybe that's why one of the big discourses or disconnects of Yamato and Kaido comes from, because honestly I don't get the feeling that they like want to kill each other. Like Yamato has said she wants to go on the side of Luffy and the samurai to help open up the borders and everything, but I don't think she also wants to like kill Kaido and take down Kaido, because I feel like there's still some kind of like family connection there. Like Kaido calling Yamato like a son, like my idiot son Yamato. In a way, that's still respecting her wishes. Like clearly he like beat her up for like trying to be Kazuki Oden and all that, but like after all this time, he hasn't like killed her or locked her up in prison. Maybe he has locked her up in prison because she's got the cuffs and everything, but that's also could be like her portraying Oden. So even though Kaido and Yamato are not on the best of terms, I don't think they like want to kill each other, and they're still family. However, Yamato definitely despises and hates Orochi, especially after finding that journal of Oden's, because she's gonna know all the information of what Orochi did and how he swindled his way into the shogun position, how he turned the country into like just a wasteland of factories and all that. I'm sure she has seen all the terrible things that has been happening within the country. Now, there's a theory about Kaido's new Onigashima project of how it could be him really like going out to sea and deciding to take over the world and bringing everybody with him and joining up with the Big Mom Pirates and like doing something crazy, right? But meanwhile in Wano, he's gonna hand over the reins to Yamato, because Yamato was mentioned, this big announcement has something to do with her, right? So that is one of the theories, and that could be possible, and it could connect to the tension that I kind of mentioned with Orochi and Kaido. And Orochi and Kaido, like I talked about, it just never made sense to me why Kaido would like trust Orochi so much. Like, besides the fact that he's a person that knows Wano and has been in Wano, and placing him in a shogun position would just make it much easier, and of course Orochi did a lot of the work, but like Kaido could definitely easily replace Orochi at any moment. So like, could this be the moment where Kaido's like, okay, I've had enough of Orochi, I'm gonna take Yamato and put her in place, and like we're just gonna off Orochi. And if that really happens, there's another betrayal within the Beast Pirates alliance, and like I'm sure Orochi hasn't just been sitting around twiddling his thumbs waiting for the day that Kaido just decides to kill him or something. So he's probably got things set up, and even if he doesn't, you think about it, Orochi's got 10,000 men himself. If those two sides go against each other, Kaido instantaneously loses 10,000 people to his forces. So yeah, I'm incredibly interested in Yamato and Kaido's relationship, and like really like what caused their like butting heads, besides obviously Yamato wanted to be Kazuki Oden. But I really believe the biggest hatred she has towards her father is that the fact that he teamed up with Orochi, and like she probably really despises Orochi, doesn't hate her dad as much, and like just wants her dad to separate from Orochi. And that could be happening, and that could be leading to a future betrayal and breakup of Kaido and Orochi that will help the Samurai Alliance. But back to Oden's journal, another major part of it was obviously his adventures with Whitebeard. Now, I didn't make this connection in my chapter review, but now I just recently thought about it. Obviously, Yamato fought Ace, right? Like, she talked about, like, their battles and stuff. So Yamato, somebody who read Oden's journal, obviously would, like, revere at Whitebeard, would love Whitebeard as a person, and probably sees him as a brother and everything. So Ace, when he arrived in Wano, wasn't a member of the Whitebeard Pirates yet. As a matter of fact, he was going against the Whitebeard Pirates. So I'm thinking the reason Yamato and Ace fought was probably the same reason Jinbei and Ace fought. Yamato was probably trying to defend the honor of Whitebeard. Like, Ace went to Fishman Island by that point already, because he went into the New World and burned Whitebeard's flag. So like, once he went to Wano, Yamato probably found out about that, he probably took on Ace. Now, how does like this get resolved and they like settle down and like kind of become friendly, right? It seems like Yamato is referring to Ace as somebody who she has like a good memory of. And to me, this ties back to the thing I mentioned in my Yamato for Nakama video, where Ace by that time was still believing in Luffy as the Pirate King. Maybe in the midst of their battles, Yamato's like, Whitebeard's the greatest, like how dare you do that? And then Ace is like, no, he's not the greatest. The one person who will become the Pirate King is my brother Luffy. And somehow that conversation starts, and then Ace starts talking about Luffy. And then Yamato, similar to how Oden got drawn in by Roger, could get drawn in by Luffy in that way. And that sets up for why Yamato was waiting for Luffy, as she said when she first met Luffy. It's like, Straw Hat Luffy, I've been waiting for you. There is also the dynamic of Ace actually being Roger's son, but Ace didn't really wasn't proud of that fact, so I feel like he wouldn't have shared that information. So I feel like Yamato wouldn't have known and revered at Ace or something like that. It's possible she found out later when Ace got executed and it was announced he was the son of Roger and everything, and that was a surprise for her later. But when they first interacted and met, I feel like it wouldn't have been brought up. But let me just bring up my first Yamato for Straw Hat point. Yamato reading Oden's journal and seeing how he traveled with Whitebeard's ship and all those adventures he went on. A big emphasis of the journal was Oden's adventures discovering new lands, plants, animals, people. The world is a vast place that anything could happen. So how could Yamato not want to go out and explore and become a pirate after reading all that? And I'm sure she would be attracted to strong people that could lead, like Whitebeard and Roger, who Oden discovered and found out to be terrific people. So Yamato could be similar to Oden, where she's trying to go out to sea and like explore the world and just waiting for the right person to come. And if Ace talked about Luffy, she could have been drawn in by Luffy and been like, okay, I'm gonna wait for Luffy and then he's gonna help me open up these borders and then I'm gonna go on a grand adventure with him, just like the same way Oden did with Whitebeard and later on Roger. And for all my Kara for Nakama people that are still holding on strong with me, just imagine Kara and Yamato both joining the crew and then the whole crew goes to a new island like Elbaf or something, and then Kara and Yamato are both like in awe and complete awe of like the giants and the people and like the new environment. That would just be so fun to see. Essentially, you're getting two new people that are just excited for adventure as Luffy is, and I would really like that. Plus, two more females on the crew would be a good addition. Next, I want to talk about the people that Yamato would know because of the journal. Now, obviously, you have the big players like Whitebeard and Roger and their crews that Yamato obviously met. Now, I mentioned the scabbards already, but there's also Oden's family. Now, think about Yamato's reaction of seeing Momonosuke the way he is right now. There's two shocking moments to that. One is that Momonosuke is still alive, finding out like Momonosuke, who from 20 years ago, who she probably thought was dead, is all of a sudden alive and well, but not actually well because he's being hung on a crucifix, about to be executed by Orochi and her father, the same way Oden was killed by those two people before. So in my chapter review, I was talking about people that could save Momonosuke, like him turning into dragon form and get free himself, Robin helping out with sprouting her arms, Sanji being his clutch Mr. Prince role. But if Yamato sees that scene, she's gonna be enraged and do everything in her power to try and save Momonosuke. And I just thought about this now, if that whole like new Onigashima project really happens of like Orochi and Kaido like fighting each other, Kaido might side with like Yamato, says whatever, like keep the brat alive, and then Orochi, who's deathly afraid of the Kazuki clan, is not gonna allow that. Again, I'm very curious with the dynamic that Yamato is gonna have in relation to Momonosuke and also Hiyori. Is it gonna be like fanboy and fangirl and like, oh my god, Momonosuke, Oden's son, the son of Oden, the daughter of Oden, Hiyori, you both were alive this whole time, that's amazing? Or is it gonna be like, ah, son, I see you're still doing well. How are you doing? You want to grab your glove and go throw some baseballs in the back? So yeah, that's another dynamic to explore with Yamato. Now, there's also Toki, who could still be alive. So like if she's alive, that interaction would be fun to see. There's been some people throwing around theories that like Yamato could potentially have the Toki no Mi. I don't really know how that would work. Like is she just the luckiest person ever and ends up fighting all these things, Oden's journal and Toki's fruit? I just don't think that adds up. Toki's fruit is also so broken. I would like to see either she's still alive and she has it, or that fruit just doesn't get brought up again. And in terms of Yamato's devil fruit, I also want to see her have an ancient or mythical zone. I talked about how her and Kaido don't like completely hate each other. I'm sure Kaido, at least early on, would have gotten a very strong fruit for his own daughter. Now I'm gonna go through a list of other people that were brought up in the journal that Yamato could know and could develop different dynamics later on with in the story. First off, obviously Marco, she knows from Oden's adventures, and like they were two of the closest people, so that dynamic could be fun. It's like, oh my god, Marco the Phoenix, I see you were one of Kazuki Oden's best friends, right? And that conversation that they start, if the Whitebeard pirates are there, I'm sure she would be like all over them and like either pretending to be like their crewmate or like trying to like fanboy and fangirl over them. Speaking about the Whitebeard pirates, she also knows Blackbeard, who was an orphan, so like if she joins the crew, like that could be another dynamic later on. She'll have a motivation to like fight Blackbeard, be like, oh my god, you know, Whitebeard took you in, how dare you betray him and kill him, I'm gonna kill you, and like she would have motivation to take down Blackbeard as well. And then there's a lot of little things she knows as well, like Neptune, and she met because Roger went there to get the fourth poneglyph. She probably knows about the whole Shirahoshi thing because it was kind of prophesized. She also knows about Frankie, right? Because Oden met Frankie back in the day when they went to Water 7 and talked to Tom, and Frankie was there, and Oden's like, do you want to join the crew? And Frankie's like, no, I hate pirates, obviously. But if she really seriously read up on that journal in detail and memorized everybody, which I feel like she would have if she's really trying to be Kazuki Oden, she would remember Frankie, I think. And another big big one is Shanks and Buggy, who Oden knew from being on Roger's crew. And with Shanks, it's especially interesting because remember that moment of Roger telling Shanks something and he cried. In the story, Oden mentions that he doesn't know what he said, but later on, if the Straw Hats meet Shanks' crew and Yamato is with them, like that could be a way that gets reintroduced in the story. Like Yamato knows about this situation but doesn't know the complete details, and then Shanks would be like, ah, you're talking about that, and he could explain that situation and fill us in on what happened. And this is my point here, another Yamato for Straw Hat point. There's so many people that Yamato know that are important to the story, so like I want to see her interact with all those people, and the only way to do that is putting her on the crew and having her get involved with the main story and having her travel the crew as the crew goes on and meet all these people in the future, because they're definitely going to meet all these people like Shanks and Buggy and all that, especially in like the final arcs and stuff, that everybody's gonna come to one place. So to me, that knowledge that Yamato has really helps her case of being a Straw Hat even more. I know I'm kind of turning this into another Yamato for Straw Hat video, but I'm really excited for Yamato as a character, okay? Next, I want to talk about the important information that she's gotten from the logbook, and obviously the big one here is Laughtail. Now, when Oden described this in his flashback, obviously he didn't tell us, right? That would just spoil the whole story. So he described it in very vague details about how he now knows about the ancient weapons, the Will of D, and all that. So at the very least, Yamato knows about those things existing and that they have a connection to Laughtail, the final island. Now, would Oden have written the details of Laughtail in his journal? I'm actually gonna go with no, because think about it this way. If he really did, he essentially took the stuff from Laughtail and just put it in a book, right? Like, what's the point of going to Laughtail if everything like is known in his book? Like, I feel like the Roger Pirates would have come up with an agreement like, okay, this information stays here, we're not gonna share with anybody, and we're just like not gonna make any physical copies or anything, because like, why would Roger go ahead and create this age of piracy to inspire other people to go to that island if like they're just gonna go around telling people what this is? And like, Oden must have knew like holding a physical copy of it, he could lose that and that could fall into the wrong hands. So like, realistically, I think that makes sense. Now, to help my Yamato for Straw Hat case, Yamato joining the Straw Hats, she can't know about that, right? Like, even Robin, who knows so much about the world, rejected Rayleigh when Rayleigh said, do you want to find out about like the history and everything? She says, no, I'm gonna travel the crew and find out on my own. So Yamato, if she's gonna become a Straw Hat, she really can't know about this information, and if she doesn't know about it, it gives her another motivation to go out and travel in the sea and go to that last island to really find out about all this information. And honestly, even if it was revealed in the journal, Yamato wouldn't share it because Luffy wouldn't want to know about it, so that information obviously not gonna get relayed to us. But what I'm really curious about is like what Oden really wrote about like opening Wano's borders within his journal, right? Because that's Yamato's goal. But is it her goal just because Oden screamed it at the end of like this is like what I want, or like does she have more information? Now, even if she doesn't have more information, Oden did bring up when he made that big announcement like, please open up the world, he said the Kozuki clan closed the borders before because of a fear from a great external force. So Yamato could be connecting the dots here of like who that big external force could be, and I talked about this again in my Yamato for Straw Hat video of Yamato's greater goal or dream. Obviously, it can't just be going to the last island and finding out about all the stuff there, because that's Robin's dream, right? That's like very redundant. For Yamato to have a dream, I think she wants to like end corruption as a whole, and like opening up the borders is like one of the first steps to that, and like kicking Orochi out and having Wano go back to like a great place of fairness and like treating the citizens well and all that, and not giving them devil fruits that make them like can't express other emotions and stuff. So I think that's the first step, and then also she will be motivated to go out to sea, and maybe like her knowing that a great external force, that's the reason why Wano had originally closed his borders. Maybe she wants to end corruption and like destroy the world government, and later on, like when she finds out about the information about how the world government was corrupt and like how they buried history and all that, that could be her ultimate goal of ending corruption and like defeating the bad guys or something. It could be very simple of like, I want to like help people and defeat the bad guys and like free every nation from corruption. So I feel like that would be very fitting for her goal as a Straw Hat. Like, who knows, maybe she could explain the dawn of the new world, so that could be Carrot's dream and Carrot could hop along with them as well. Oh my god, yo, I really want this to happen. Carrot and Yamato, please make it happen, Oda. I want both of them on the crew. It would be so sick. Anyways, back to the information Yamato knows. She might not know about all the details of Laughtail and everything, but she still has about like 5 years of everyday logging from ODEN'S. So like she could give a lot of context to things. If she's with the crew, she'll be like another Nico Robin. Both of them could provide information and context. Jinbei as well, somebody who's been very experienced. So now you have 3 like experienced, but like Yamato's like experienced but also inexperienced, because I'm guessing she's not like a pirate and that has gone out and explored the world. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So her being a device for Oda to provide context for situations in the future, I think will make sense as well. And obviously she's not going to reveal everything. It's in a similar way of Nico Robin, where she knows all this information, but she only reveals it when it's like necessary and like to provide context. Now, what's also information about what she knows is that ODEN'S dialogue cuts off after Orochi makes him go and dance like a village idiot. After that, the actual narration cuts back and we don't really see anything else from ODEN'S perspective. And that's like another 5 years, so I'm wondering if Oden stopped writing then, or like is there just no information from then? I could see it going either way, because one, if they're like he really did stop writing, I feel like the information during that time span is not as important, obviously, as his 5 years out at sea and everything. But if there is information on there, it could fill in some gaps as we go into another flashback with Yamato. And speaking about flashbacks, I just want to quickly talk about what I want to see from Yamato in the near future in Wano. Another flashback is definitely coming, and I'm actually pretty excited for this. I want to see Yamato and Kaido and what their dynamic was and them growing up and who Yamato's mother is. I forgot to mention this in my chapter review, but the way her hair is looks a lot like Black Maria, okay? And Black Maria was getting cuddly with Kaido, and I had joked about her banging Kaido, but who knows, that could actually be possible now. But yeah, I want to see like her dynamic with Kaido and her family and how her childhood was and what like really motivated her to like become Oden. Because was she mistreated, or is Kaido trying to force down some kind of ideology on her, like you have to be the queen of Wano later and rule Wano later on? I also want to know, like, was she allowed to leave at all? Like, was she isolated in Wano? Because I've been kind of speaking like that's the case, but it's possible that she's been out and about as well. But I do like the idea that she stayed in Wano this whole time and was like, maybe she pretended to be isolated in Wano the same way Oden did. Oh, you know what? Actually, how old was Oden when he traveled out at sea? Maybe she's waiting to be the proper age to travel out at sea? Okay, so it looks like Oden was granted daimyo of Curry at age 20, and like maybe later that year he went on pirate ship. It's not very clear, but it is possible that like Yamato was allowed to leave, but she was like, no, I'm gonna pretend to be Oden and like wait till like the right pirate comes and takes me. So yeah, I want to see her childhood and like how she grew up and her relationship with her family really fleshed out. And of course, the important ones of how she found the journal and that, like her whole backstory with Ace and the more of Ace and Wano. I'm really excited to see that. Now, I don't actually want this flashback to be super long either, especially in this moment where everybody's pretty much getting together and a big fight is about to break out. I'm really not sure if we're going in a flashback next chapter. It might be too soon. I want this flashback to be maybe around 5 chapters at max, so it could maybe just get sprinkled in here and there as this war happens. It doesn't have to be a complete flashback, but it could just get like sprinkled in as this thing happens, or like as maybe Kaido gets defeated, we learn more about his family and stuff like that. But what do you guys think? What do you think about Yamato as a character and what the stuff she could possibly know and what it could lead to? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to keep up to date with when I'm posting new videos, you gotta hit that subscribe button. We are currently about 1,450 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Let's keep it rolling. Like I said in the last video, the next subscriber goal, 5,000, and I'm promising I'm making a Discord at 5K. Discord at 5K. Help us get there. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to join the crew as well. Follow me on Twitter. I'm DKing4. Got another video for you right there, a playlist right there, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.